So you see, sensations are a moving target. So if you're focused on feeling it in one particular area during an exercise, but you don't have a specific intention, goal, or way to test, then you might be just setting yourself up for a heck of a lot of frustration and maybe even potentially some setbacks. So instead of doing that, let's do this instead. Hi guys, Greg Chaplin here, physical therapist and strength and conditioning specialist. In this video, I want to talk about using sensory feedback during exercises. And I want to talk specifically about how to use testing and goal setting and specific intention to make sure that we're not chasing sensations in a way that actually produces frustration or sets us back. So I'm going to use actually a very specific example from real life and talk a little bit about how sensations can change over the course of a program and how if you're monitoring them appropriately, you can actually tell if these changes are desirable or undesirable. So let's go ahead and let's jump right in. So I was working with this gentleman and he had what I would consider to be a right hip hike or lateral pelvic tilt on this right side. So his pelvis was shifted over to the right side, kind of hiked up and also tipped forward a little bit. So his main complaints when we first started together were right hip pain and restriction, loss of mobility in the right hip, as well as a right-sided mid-back kind of thoracic area pain and stiffness in the right side of his back and also in his shoulder. So our goals were to get him to shift his center of mass first back and then to the left to restore some of the mobility in the right hip and the right shoulder. And he was having pain walking around because his right hip was bugging him after just a short amount of time walking. So we wanted that tolerance to walking and that subjective report of discomfort with walking to decrease over time. So we started this gentleman off and to start to progress him towards some of the goals that we talked about. So first getting him to shift his weight back, we started him on his back and had him doing some kind of hook lying reaching activities to open up the right thoracic. Now his initial sensation was a heck of a lot of stretch in that right thoracic. And as we went through the weeks, that decreased and decreased and decreased until that felt like it was maxed out. And in regards to the hip, we shifted him back first and got him to start kind of pushing down with his center of mass shifted back a little bit. Then we put him in side lying on his left side, so his right side was up, and had him start to push against a wall with that pelvis shifted back a little bit more. And in the initial stages of this, he felt a heck of a lot of glute on that right side. And the reason that he's feeling a lot of glute on that right side is because he's not used to the pelvis being shifted back like this and then having to produce that force. Now, this was a brand new position for him. There were certain fibers of the glutes that were probably underutilized, and there were certain fibers of the glutes that were probably working too hard in his previous position. And now that we were in a slightly better position, he's able to feel muscles working and other muscles probably stretching a little bit, and this produces a lot of sensation in that area. Now, as we're going on in our program and he's starting to use these glutes more effectively and he's going from this kind of turned position towards the right to a little bit more squared up, now the demand on those glutes is significantly reduced. So he's not feeling as much sensation in those glutes anymore. And as we discussed earlier, he's not feeling as much sensation in that thoracic area as well. So the lesson here is if we were to solely rely on sensation at this point and we were to say, okay, the loss of being able to feel the stretch in the thoracic and the loss of being able to feel the glute working in the hip indicates we're not doing these exercises correctly. If that's our mindset, we would have probably reacted by doing something that was either erroneous at best or maybe even something that could produce a setback. So what we did instead is we tested the shoulder and hip range of motion on both sides. They were better by about 20 to 30 degrees. We asked him how he felt standing on his legs, and he said he felt more balanced standing on his legs. We asked him how the walking was going, and he said he was able to double or triple the amount of time he was walking before an onset of discomfort in that right hip. So all that testing, the subjective reports and also the objective testing, let us know that we were really on point with what we were doing, and the change in sensation that we were getting associated with this program was actually because we were meeting the goals of our program, and it was becoming easier to sustain positions where we wouldn't fall back into other positions where we'd have the glute working harder than it needed to, or the thoracic being so tight that just with a little bit of a reach, you'd feel a big stretch. So at this point, we had the right thoracic opened up so that when we reached, there wasn't a big stretch, and we had the hip in a better position so that when we engaged those glute muscles, they didn't have to work harder than they should have to. So if you're still someone that's worried about feeling your glutes, you can go up and watch this video here where I talk a little bit about how to feel your glutes during a squat. I use a split squat as an example in that video, and that goes over the most common reasons, especially when somebody's a little bit more oriented to the right. But in general, it's better to work with someone who can help you identify some ways to test, to identify some appropriate goals, and to help you go forward towards those goals and let you know at what point you might feel what types of sensations, rather than just going out on a limb and trusting someone who's telling you that I should feel this when I do this exercise. It's not quite the case. We have an evolution of how we improve our movement over time. So there's going to be an evolution of what kind of sensory feedback we get during the exercises as well. This is not really always an easy thing to work on your own. So if you're someone who's in need of help in this area to figure out what are appropriate goals, what are appropriate tests, and how to move forward to improve movement, alignment, mobility, and posture, go ahead and click the link below for a movement consultation to figure out if you're a good fit for the movement coaching program. So thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, go ahead and like it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll know when I upload a new video. And until next time, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.